An incredibly talented musician is in the house, and we're putting the spotlight on her right now. This is the Bottom Line Podcast. I'm Jimmy Fedezzi alongside Neil Villapiano. We hope you're doing well. As always, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to listen to us. We really do appreciate it. Before we get started, questions, opinions, as always, Twitter and Instagram at BottomLineWMCX, and on Twitter at the NVP Show, hashtag BottomLine. Leave a voice message on the Anchor app or at anchor.fm. And please, as I always say, if you're watching on YouTube, if you like what you see, leave a like and a comment down below. Helps out tremendously. And please subscribe and hit the bell so you do not miss a single episode. And please subscribe on all audio listening platforms as well. Just include Jimmy when searching for this podcast. Neil, I got to say, I'm really looking forward to this episode today because not only am I challenging you to stray away from the world of sports once again, I'm only kidding, of course, but it's not really a challenge since you kind of know what the deal is, since you've talked to First to 11 a couple of times before. So you kind of know what the deal is. But I'm actually really excited because we are about to interview a person who I know personally. She's a very, very good friend of mine. She is still my drum tutor. I've been taking drum lessons with her for about a few years now. She lives out in LA right now. And I know that LA is unfortunately on lockdown because of COVID and everything, but I'm sure she's hanging in there. She's doing her own thing when it comes to music and stuff. She's actually is coming out with her first EP, which we'll discuss with her about that once she comes on. Her name is Lindsay Artkop, and like I said, she's a very, very good friend of mine. And Neil, I know you may have done a bit of research on her, so this should be fun for the both of us. It should be a very, very good experience.
Yeah, absolutely. It's another opportunity to kind of, get away from sports for a little while and talk, to somebody who's involved in something else like music. And that's tremendous. And it's a way to expand the viewership and also to just get people to learn about, other things that are going on in this world, because there are a lot of gifted people doing many different tremendous things like she is. Absolutely.
And I know we've always been an advocate on, if you're a woman who wants to work in any industry, especially in the sports industry, you should definitely do it. We're huge advocates of that. But if you see a woman in the music industry, that seems to be taking it to a whole nother level. I mean, granted, if you are a woman in the music industry and you want to do it, by all means, God bless you, do it. We encourage that. And for what she's been doing right now, it really is tremendous. So I'm really looking forward to discussing what that means to her as well.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun and, looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. It should be fun. Might be a bit of a challenge for Neil, but you know what? All joking aside, this is going to be a fun interview. So we want you guys to sit back, relax, and enjoy our exclusive interview with my good friend, Lindsay Artkop. Enjoy, everybody. All right, guys. The date is December 10th, 2020. And Neil, like I said in the intro, I'm really, really excited about this episode because not only are we taking a break from the world of sports for a little bit, as this podcast is obviously a sports podcast, but we are diving right back into the music industry, but not for the usual band we like to talk to, although we might have a bit of a little bit of a tease about that within the next few weeks. Just a little bit of a hint right there, but I digress. But no, seriously, we're really, really excited because we have an opportunity to talk to a very good friend of mine who I have not actually seen in over a year, which is absolutely nuts. But this is going to be really, really exciting. So quick introduction on her real quick here. She won first place in Hit Like a Girl in 2015, which is an international competition for female drummers. She graduated from Berklee College of Music in May of 2016 with a Bachelor of Arts degree in professional music, and was a featured drummer in the annual commencement ceremony concert. While at Berklee, she concentrated on drum set performance and music business. Her education also strengthened her skills in music theory, harmony, ear training, and songwriting. Some teachers she studied with at Berklee include Bob Gilotti, Dave DiCenzo, sorry if I'm saying these incorrectly, by the way, Ralph Peterson, Kim Plainfield, and much, much more. Ladies and gentlemen, we are proud to have on my good friend and a very super talented musician, Lindsay Artkop. Lindsay, first of all, it's been a while, my friend. Thank you so much for popping on. How's everything with you?
Thank you so much. It's great. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to do this. Like you said, we haven't seen each other in a long time, so it's great to be here.
Of course, we're very, very happy to have you on. This should be a lot of fun. So let's not waste any more time and get into this. So I guess I know I've asked you this on numerous occasions before. The last time I actually had an interview with you was actually on live radio when I was at WMCX in West Long Branch, New Jersey, if you can believe that was years ago. Imagine what that was still a thing for me. But I know I've asked you this on many, many occasions before, but for our audience that may not know, how did your drumming career and music career get started?
Sure. So I've been drumming for a long time. I started when I was 6. I got lessons. I went to high school for music, and then that's kind of when I started to get serious about it. And then I went to Berklee College of Music, and I think that's really when things started happening, is when I started to learn a lot more, play a lot more, and then, like you mentioned, I won the contest, and that was one of the big things that kind of got things started. From there, I was able to kind of get more of a platform, start posting more videos and stuff. That led to endorsements, and then I started teaching drum lessons when I was maybe like 19. And then from there, I also started to do clinics. So I was going to like colleges and universities to teach drums and do performances. Other than that, I kind of just continue to build like the performance side of things too. I finished at Berklee, and then I moved out to LA. That was 2017. And then since I moved to LA, I've just been playing here, teaching, continuing that, and just growing from there. So a lot has happened, but I guess it kind of really started in college when I was starting the career part of it.
What was the main motivation factor behind you for wanting to start teaching lessons online over Skype or doing these drum clinics around the world? I know you've been to Beijing, you've been to New York City, you've pretty much been all over the world. What was kind of the motivation factor for you to start doing this?
I think the motivation part of it was just being around so many great musicians back in college. That was the first time that I was surrounded by so many people at once that inspired me like that. And I really just wanted to take advantage of that and put all of my time and effort into growing my drumming. So I was like, after I started doing clinics, I think my first clinic was at PASIC in November 2016. I really loved it, and I wanted to do more. So anytime an opportunity came up, I was really happy about it, and I kept on setting up more clinics, like whether that was in Boston, if I was there, or in Connecticut when I lived with family. And even when I moved out to LA, that just continued. So I think the motivation part of it was just that I was super passionate about it. And whenever it came up, I was just happy to do it.
Yeah, I remember the drum clinic I actually met you in person was in New York City, and it was quite the experience. And I can definitely tell you're very, very passionate about what you do, and you couldn't be much of a nicer person and more of a passionate person to do this. Neil, if you have a question, please feel free to go ahead.
Yeah, my first question to you, Lindsay, is this: what made you decide that you wanted to go to the Berklee College of Music? Like, what was the thinking process, and were there any other schools that were on your list or on your mind? So I guess it's kind of a two-part question to that.
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, when I was in high school, maybe like junior, senior year, I realized that I really wanted to do music and have that be my career. And then once it came time to kind of decide what college I went to, the colleges for music were kind of split, like especially at that time and before that time, they were either jazz or classical, and very few schools had pop and contemporary music too. So Berkeley was one of the only schools that had that type of program, which I really liked. They also had what's called the pro music major, which is you basically decide what focuses you want to put your energy into, and then you could build your degree around that, which I really liked. And then I think one of the more important things too was the teachers. There's a lot of drummers that I really wanted to study from there, like Bob Gulati, Ralph Peterson, Kim Plainfield, like everybody that Jimmy mentioned before that I studied with. I got to study with when I was there. So that kind of like made the whole decision point to Berkeley. But yeah, there were like other schools that I applied to just to kind of have like safety schools or whatever. But yeah, it just was 100% wanting to go to Berkeley.
What was the biggest lesson you learned from each teacher that you had while you were there?
I think in general, when I started at Berkeley, I learned how much practicing goes into making your craft get better. Before that, of course, I had great like teachers and experiences, but it never clicked with me, I guess, to how much work that really entails. Because once I got there and I was doing it 24/7, I realized like all of the work and the practicing and just living and breathing music all the time is really what causes you to grow. So it was the perfect environment for that. And then I think one of my teachers in particular, Bob Gulati, is the one that I studied the most with. He really taught me how to practice and break down like my practice routine and stuff to get the most out of it. So I think just the workflow and the practicing was the main thing that I learned.
Was it more like one-on-one when it came to like having classes with these teachers, or was it just like you guys had a big group of people and you all just practiced together?
There were different classes. So you have to take private lessons, which is one-on-one, for at least 2 years. And then the other classes are labs. So you might be in a room with like 10 other drummers or something. And then you also do ensembles, which is groups of bands.
Right.
So it would be like drums, guitar, bass, saxophone, whatever. So it's a variety. And then they also have music theory classes, which is like another part of it, which is another thing that I really grew in at a fast rate when I was there. Was just like studying music theory. And at the same time, like all of this is just like coming together at once.
Wow. Very, very interesting. We're talking to Lindsay Artkop here on the Bottom Line podcast. I mentioned before that we were talking about how you participated in Hit Like a Girl in 2015. You won first place. But just here are a few of the judges that were involved. You had Didi Negron from Cirque du Soleil. You had a couple of the drummers from Beyonce. And you had Hannah Welton, the drummer for Prince.
Yep.
What was it like to be judged by those people?
Pretty wild.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I mean, I was just happy that they would see my video. But I think it was really cool because I had been entering the contest so many times before that. I think I entered it like 3 times. I didn't even get into the finals at first. Then the third time I entered, like I won the whole thing. Which kind of just reflected what I was going through at the time, which was just all of this growth. But yeah, those are all drummers that I loved and looked up to and still do. So it was really amazing to be connected with them.
I know you were a judge at one point. So I'm sorry to cut you off, Neil. I'll let you go after me, I promise. But I know you were a judge at one point during the contest. What was it like for you to be in the judge's seat and see all these amazing, talented young women who want to do this for a living?
It was really hard. I mean, there's so many different styles and different entries, and like so much goes into it. At the end of the day, when it's a music competition, it's not easy to like you're the winner, like you're better or whatever. We judged on a variety of things and then kind of just added up the totals. So I think it was things like groove, creativity, technique, production, performance, things like that. And then we all added all of those things up. So it was kind of hard, and I found myself like going back and forth, comparing videos, and then making sure that it was kind of like all in the same relative range when I was trying to like compare them. So yeah, it wasn't easy to judge that, which kind of, like I was saying, it kind of just points to music isn't always a competition, and it's not like natural for it to be a competition. But at the same time, of course, the contest is just about female drummers and having all of them come together and stuff. So it was definitely cool.
Neil, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I guess my next question to you, Lindsay, is this. Now, I would say this from, kind of talking about it from my perspective as someone who is a sports broadcaster and focusing in that career. I always have, people, role models, idols in my life, even at the age that I'm at now at 23. Have your role models or idols changed as you've gotten older? Have they been the same? And if so, who are your role models in this area?
Yeah, a lot of them have stayed the same. Like, there's definitely a lot of classic drummers that I've always loved and listened to. I think some of those are like Steve Jordan, Chris Coleman, like Steve Gadd. There's a lot of top drummers that I really love, but at the same time, there's so many new people coming up. Like JD Beck, for example, is a crazy great drummer that's kind of young. And then there's just this whole new era of internet drummers in general, or like Instagram or TikTok drummers that are doing creative things that's totally new in certain ways. So I'm always like looking for new people to get inspired by.
Well, I can say this: I'm not wasting my time on TikTok, but if you can find talented musicians on there, God bless you. I'm not going to stop you, but I'm just saying I'm not wasting my time on there. I'm sorry.
I was going to say there is one, and I forgot the name of the guy, and I feel bad, but there's this one drummer that he plays a lot of like the songs that a lot of teenagers listen to, and he puts paint on his drums, and he actually plays.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. What the heck is his name?
I forgot his name.
Oh my gosh,
that dude's incredible. Like, it really was, and I was like,
yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, you want to know the funny thing? One of my friends actually sent me a video on that through Instagram, and I was like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. Little did I know that was paint. I'm like, wait, that's got to be a TikTok thing, right? So I found that to be very, very interesting. But like I said, I'm not wasting my time on TikTok. But if you can find talented musicians on there, by all means, I'm not going to stop you. But anyway, back to the task at hand here. So I know obviously things have been nuts down there in California with the COVID situation and everything. So what have been your current plans as you're dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yeah, it's been crazy. Like, all of the live gigs are pretty much gone. Like, every once in a while I hear about, a friend having a gig that's socially distanced or whatever, but for the most part, live gigs are done for a while. Thankfully, I've been teaching fully online, and that's been great. Like, I used to have about half of my students be in person coming into my studio, but, most of them have switched to online, and then I've gotten more students online. So I'm really thankful that worked out. And that's always kind of been like one of my main things, which is good. But like musically, I've been taking the time to work on more of my own music, which has been cool. It's been giving me more time to do that. I've been learning a lot about music production, working in Ableton, making my own music, just like doing a lot of songwriting too, which is cool. I've basically been trying to make this time work for me so that I could prepare an EP, which I want to release like at some point next year, maybe mid next year. So yeah, I've just been like preparing those demos so I could take them to the next level. Which has been really cool, and I'm glad that it kind of happened just in that way.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk a little bit more about that in a few moments, but I also wanted to ask you this real quick, and then Neil, if you have another question, please feel free to go ahead. I know we talked a little bit about this off the air. Neil and I have always been an advocate for if you are a young girl or a young woman who wants to be in, whether it's in the sports industry or the music industry, if you're a woman and you want to do this, if you have a passion for it, Neil and I have always said, go do it. Don't let anybody stop you from doing what you love. So let me ask you this. For you, what does it mean for you to be a young woman who's in the music industry, doing what you love every single day? What does that mean to you?
I think I always kind of say it's a double-edged sword. So like the positive part about it is that, you know, you do get a lot of cool opportunities. It's a really good time in terms of female musicians coming up and for the roads to start kind of like getting paved in a better way. There's a lot of activism around it right now, which is really cool, and I try to focus on that, and I try to get in with that as much as possible, because there is a lot of that going on. There's a lot of like organizations, you know, like Hit Like a Girl is just one of them, that are trying to promote female musicians. So like I said, my focus is always just on that kind of thing. But of course there's still like discrimination and, you know, just not a lot of people treating women drummers the same. It just happens, but it is getting better. I think for me, like, it hasn't been that bad. I've heard a lot of stories about, you know, really bad things happening. For me, I haven't had like a horrible experience, you know, which I'm really thankful for. But yeah, that's kind of the situation, I guess.
Neil, go ahead.
I guess I don't know if I would necessarily say this is going to a lighter question or a more joyous question, but I guess, and this is actually a question for both you, Lindsay, and you as well, Jimmy, is this. In your opinion, who are your 3 favorite drummers of all time? Because I know.
Oh my
God. So I guess we'll start with Lindsay if you want to start.
Ladies,
Okay.
Ladies first. Go ahead.
Right, exactly.
That's a tough question. I would have to say Chris Coleman is probably my number 1 favorite drummer. And then I also really love Steve Gadd and Vinny Colaiuta.
Jimmy?
Wow, this is tough. Well, I know one obvious one for me is Phil Rudd of AC/DC. They're one of my favorite bands of all time. So Phil Rudd is one of them.
One.
The other one, oh my gosh, who was the drummer from? What's it called? I'm trying to think of the band name. I haven't listened to them in a while. I have to go back and listen. He's the drummer for Escape the Fate. I forget his name, but he's another one of them. Neil, I promise, look them up. They're fantastic. But the drummer for that band is terrific. And then I got to be honest about this one. Sam Gilman of First to 11. He's another one I like a lot.
Yeah, I knew you were going to do that.
Oh, come on. Really? Yeah. But no, seriously though, I think Sam is extremely talented in what he does, and you know the other two, I pretty much grew up on those guys, so those I would say are my top 3 as of right now. It varies, but as of right now, those are my top 3.
Nice.
Yeah, I can't believe you actually asked me that question. Yeah. I didn't think we were doing a top 3 list in the middle of an interview.
No, it's not more of a list. It's just like, you know, because everybody has different ones. You know, I actually learned how to play the drums when I was maybe 8 or 9 from John Rockman, who's a local guy. He used to. I don't know if he's still around this area or not, but he taught me when I was in middle school, and he introduced me to, you know, drummers and everything. I've learned to have a couple of favorites, more than 3, that I've grown up listening to. I'm a big Buddy Rich fan.
Nice,
oh yes,
big Buddy Rich fan. Ringo Starr I really like. Frank Zappa, I'm sure that's not a surprise to many people. And there's actually a couple others. And unfortunately, I had to look up their names because their names escaped me at the moment. But it's from 3 of my favorite bands, which is Green Day, One Republic, and Coldplay.
Trey Cool you're thinking of.
Yeah, Trey Cool. I'm a fan of Trey Cool, Eddie Fisher, and Will Champion.
Yes.
So,
nice. They're all great.
Yeah.
All excellent choices.
But yeah, I think the one that most people get shocked by is probably probably, I mean, I would imagine it had to be the first one that I said, which I just.
Buddy Rich.
Buddy Rich, yeah, because here's the thing. I was in a jazz class a couple years ago, and I learned about him in a jazz class, if you can believe that. And I started listening to some of the things that he was involved in, which was obviously jazz music. And I really just liked the flow that he had. I really liked the way that he did it, very old school. I'm kind of an old school guy myself. I listen to a lot of classical music from the 40s, 50s, 60s. And listening to him is just kind of like a smooth type of drumming, and I really like it. And then I have obviously others that are a little bit more intense. And also whoever is in the Blue Man Group, I guess you could throw in there as well.
Nice.
When they play drums. I think that's whoever does it does a good job.
I haven't heard the Blue Man Group in God knows how long.
I don't
Oh,
even
was
know
this like middle school?
Do they still I think they still perform.
No, they do.
I
They do.
literally
They're
just
still
saw
around.
a Tiny Desk concert of them last night.
There you go. That's it. Yes.
But yeah, I wanted to ask that question because whenever we have, musicians on here, I always like listening to them talk about, people that, they consider idols or people that they grew up listening, because it's never the same people. It's never really the same people. And from a drumming standpoint, I don't think a lot of people know some of the names that we mentioned. Obviously Frank Zappa is probably one of the many that I would imagine. Buddy Rich as well, if you're a little bit on the older side. But yeah, just, it's kind of a cool thing that I like doing, to kind of learn more about the musician and where maybe they get some of their inspiration from, depending on who they've listened to and who they're a fan of.
Well, either way, they're all excellent choices, my friend. So, and we're talking to Lindsay Artkop on the Bottom Line podcast. So going back to your drum lessons really quick here, what's the one thing that you take away from your students, knowing that they work hard to get what they want, where they want to get, how they sometimes think that, oh, something's really hard, I can't do this, but they always seem to think they can because you're encouraging them to. What does that mean to you when you're teaching students?
Thanks. Yeah, it's kind of a big responsibility. And I think one thing I've learned about teaching is that it's half psychology and half inspiration and encouragement. And then the other half is teaching just the black and white technical side of it. But I think if somebody's having trouble convincing themselves that they could do something, I think it's super important for me to encourage them. I might say things like, I started, just where you're at, and you just have to work through it. But another thing that I like to do is remind them of the things that they've already done. If they learned a simple rock beat in the beginning and that was so difficult, that's the same as learning this more advanced thing. You just have to go through the same process. The thing about learning an instrument in general is that the learning curve goes like this. So in the beginning, a lot of people are like, wow, this isn't that hard. In just one lesson, I learned a rock beat that can take me through so many songs. But then as you get deeper into it, the better you get, the more work you have to do to push to the next level. So encouraging people is really important, and it means a lot to me, and I think that's the most important part of it.
Very, very cool. Now, going to your going back to your new music for a second here, you mentioned it before that you were going to be releasing a new EP later on in 2021. I know that you've been working on writing your own music. You've been playing guitar, you've been playing bass, and you've actually been singing a little bit more, which is very, very impressive to me. I actually think you're very, very good at it. But what sort of inspired you to start writing your own music up to the point where you want to release your first EP?
Thank you. I think, I had been writing and songwriting for a long time. It started maybe when I played guitar when I was 13. And then when I was a lot of songwriting and lyric writing classes. And I loved those, and it was always great to do that. But I think at the time I was focusing on drumming, so I just went 100% in that direction. And that's why a lot of people don't even know I play other instruments or I like to write songs or anything. So it's kind of just like this other side of what I've been doing for a long time. I just haven't really been sharing it. But at the same time, since my focus has been on drumming and that alone before this, it's taken a lot of work to kind of prepare a vision and like decide, what kind of genre I want it to be and stuff like that.
Neil, feel free to go ahead if you have another question.
Yeah, I guess the question that I have is that, I have a brother who was in a band for a long time that played both guitar and primarily bass. I guess my question, and maybe it's a little bit non sequitur to what Jimmy just asked, but I guess my question is, what is the biggest difference between playing regular guitar and then playing bass? Because some people that I know who may not be well versed in music and especially with things like that, some people think that it's just the same thing. I know it's not because of definitely the sound of it, but
no,
like,
it's not.
Difference, especially when you're using it, what is the biggest difference that you notice, and the biggest difference that I guess people usually would notice?
Yeah, that's something that a lot of people wonder. I think, well, the main difference between the two of them is that guitar is in a higher register and bass is in a lower register. So frequency wise, that's where they're at. When it comes to bass, the bassist job is to keep time with the drummer, lock in with the drummer, and lay down a foundation for the harmonies. So that's why they play like the bass note, and their bass is usually locked in with a bass drum in most styles. And then, so they're kind of like the foundation. And then guitar is something that could play chords, create harmonies, or also be a lead or play riffs. So that's the role that the guitar has. The guitar has 6 strings, and the bass has 4. The bottom 4 strings of the guitar are the same as the bass, but the bass is lower. Yeah. So a lot of the same fretwork and everything lines up. It's just a different technique and a different sound.
Well, I guess my guitar could learn a bit of a lesson, because my guitar seems to want to only have 5 strings for some reason, because the high E string always seems to want to break on me for no reason whatsoever. So either I need a new guitar or it needs to be fixed for like the upteenth time. So
I think the answer you're looking for, Jimmy, is both.
Oh my God, whatever. And by the way, for those that don't know, yes, I do play guitar and I also play drums. So a little bit of a factoid for you right there. And I actually did take lessons with you for a while, and I sort of do want to get back to that soon, because it's been way too long for that, my friend.
Good. Get on your grind.
Thanks, Neil.
Grind, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
This
but
yeah, you were one of
encouragement.
Sorry, Lindsay, go ahead.
Encouragement, yeah. But I was gonna say you were one of my first students.
Yes. Yeah. When you started them back in like what, 2016, 17, I think you did?
Something like that. Yeah, maybe even probably like 2016. It might have been 2015, I'm not sure.
That sounds about right, because it was around the time we both graduated from school anyway, so that sounds about right to me. But before we wrap things up here, last question for me at least. I don't know if Neil will have one more after me. Oh, you do have one more. All right. Yeah. So last question for me. What would be your one message to all of the young girls and young women out there who want to be in your industry? What would you say to them?
I would say that that's great and they can totally do it. I would encourage them to find a great, support system, a teacher that could teach them, or a mentor, that's doing what they want to do. It's great to post on social media, even if it's not like you have like a bunch of followers, but it's great to put up what you're working on, so people could see what you're doing, and have fun with it and do what you're passionate about.
Very, very good answer. Neil, last question from you.
So this is kind of an interesting question, and if you don't have a definitive answer, it's totally fine. But I guess my question would be, what is your ultimate end game when it comes to, your passions, your career, and everything in between?
Wow.
I think in general, my end game has, it is. It's always been to do what I love and make a living playing music. And that's what I've been doing, but it continually evolves and it continually changes. Like I've been doing a lot of like drumming and lesson stuff, and now I'm kind of doing more original music and stuff like that. So for the short term, like right now, I'm really just working on my own music and the EP and working towards that kind of thing.
Wonderful.
That's really, really awesome. And a little bit of a personal question, because I know those who follow you on Instagram at Lindsay Artkop, by the way, you should go follow her, by the way. Fantastic stuff. I know some people noticed that you do have a little bit of a little dog in the family. How is little Oswald doing?
He's great. I have this like little Christmas tree bed for him that I got yesterday, and he's just like sleeping in it right now.
There you go.
That is adorable. All right. Well, unfortunately, that will wrap it up for this episode of the Bottom Line Podcast and our fantastic interview. Lindsay, we cannot thank you enough for coming on. We really do appreciate this. And thank you for sharing your message to those young women who want to be in this industry. And thanks for what you're doing. Keep it up, because you're really doing amazing things. You're going places. And I'm really, really glad that we've become great friends over the past few years, and I'm really, really happy that you were able to come on. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. This is really fun talking to you guys.
Oh, of course, my friend. And hey, you're always welcome back on anytime you want. Just shoot me a text or an email or whatever, and we'll make something work.
Awesome. Sounds great.
Thank you, Lindsay. Lindsay Artkop. Go follow her on social media at Lindsay Artkop. What's up, guys? Jimmy and Neil here from the Bottom Line Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning into that exclusive interview with Lindsay Artkop. If you have any thoughts on the interview, and if there's any special guests you want us to interview in the future, let us know on Twitter and Instagram at BottomLineWMCX, and on Twitter at the NVP Show. Use the hashtag BottomLine. Leave a voice message on the Anchor app or at Anchor.fm. And if you like what you see on YouTube, leave a like and a comment down below. It helps out tremendously. And please make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you do not miss a single episode. And please subscribe on all audio listening platforms as well. Just include Jimmy when searching for this podcast. But Neil, I gotta say, you were very great in that interview. You had a lot of great questions, and this was a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed talking to Lindsay.
Yeah, it's obviously great whenever we get an opportunity to talk about something other than sports and kind of learn about, what other people are doing in their lives and the successes that they've had. And, Lindsay was terrific. And, it was great to learn about, what she's been up to, what she's experienced in her life and everything. And it was a tremendous interview the entire time.
Absolutely. She was absolutely tremendous. And we really had a tremendous time with her, and she is always welcome back on anytime. So thank you again for listening. Neil, always a pleasure. Looking forward to doing it all again next week, man.
Absolutely.
Awesome. For Neil Villapiano and for Lindsay Artkop, I'm Jimmy Finizzi. This is the Bottom Line Podcast. See you in the next episode. Peace out.